Greetings. Test, test. Can everyone hear me? Hello, sweet. Hello, hello. Thank you for the bun spins and bun raves. Oh, Pigeon, thank you so much for the drink water redeem. I will have a drink then. Oh, so sweet. Back for some more house adventures. I'm sorry that I couldn't come sooner. Also, I don't think there's background music at this point, so just testing into the silence, but well, thanks, Ronnie. So kind. Thoroughly undeserving, but very grateful nonetheless. Hope you're all doing well. Just here to do some more reading. I had a quick look at the calendar and I realized it had already been a while. And I wanted to keep going. I am very sorry that it's taken me so long to pop by. But since we are here, do some reading, get a little bit further through the story, my hopes. Nods. I think that's all. If everyone can hear and see me, then let us get going. Destitute soul, that's us, by the way. Not having anticipated this, he was unsure how to react. What's the matter? You lost, or are you just trying to take in the sights? A voice called out to the departed, but it was not the maid's voice. What? Caught off guard, he spun around, confused, in search of the source. Where are you looking? I'm over here. Yeah, there you go. A little more to the left. Can everyone hear? Oh yes, I think so. Hello. Following the voice's instructions, he found himself facing a wall. The painting speaks. What do I do? You look like you've just seen a ghost. Hey now, come on, don't turn away. Thank you. Are you really... Yep, you got it. I'm the one talking to you. The voice was coming from within the painting. When the departed had passed by this wall on his way to the third door, a magnificent landscape painting had been hanging there. But now, the canvas was a deep shade of black, as if it had been dipped into a vat of ink. Been a while since I've talked to anyone. So tell me, you can hear me all right, can't you? I can hear you. Splendid. Been so long since I've had a conversation, I was afraid I might have forgotten how to talk. So tell me, who might you be? I don't know. I don't know anything. You don't know? Well, isn't that quite the pickle? Then how about we have a little chat, eh? You got yourself turned around and aren't sure where to go, yeah? Well, I'll be happy to tell you anything I can. Just ask away. The painting sounded rather high-spirited. Perhaps he was simply excited to have the opportunity to speak with someone. So, the departed decided he would ask the painting a few questions. Oh, here's our questions. Who are you? Me? Well, as you can see, I'm a painting. Why? Why did I end up as a painting? Hard to say. Maybe I was reborn as a painting because I used to really like art. Although there are things I painted that I wish I hadn't. Maybe that regret's what turned me into this. Hopefully I get the chance to apologize to him about that. Anywho, no point in getting into any more detail than that. Wouldn't mean anything to you. So, enough about me. Oh, right, you don't know anything about yourself. Shame that. Alright then. A favor for you, since you can't tell me anything about yourself. If you run into him, could you tell him I really regret what I did? Hello. I know I should tell him myself, but, well, as you can see, regret. I'm stuck here. Can't move an inch, so I've got to ask for help. I feel absolutely terrible about painting that picture. I know, yeah, the deadline's way past on that one, but that's what makes it regret, yeah? Because you can't take it back. By the time I'd realized, it was too late. He was already dead. He's long since passed away. How? Oh, are you supposed to give a dead fellow a message? Well, for all you know, the dead could be wandering around these halls too. Perhaps. So, please, if you come across him, tell him I said that. That I didn't mean any harm with that painting. Maybe you are him? Who am I? Just because you don't know who you are doesn't mean you couldn't go around asking other people. Is a painting a person? Not a person, you say? Well, no, you're right, but I'm not going to know anything about you that you can't tell me yourself. I mean, from where I'm standing, you look almost like a walking cloud of shadow. I can't even tell what you look like. I do? The maid who was with you before, did she call you master? Yes. I see. But the question is, which era's master are you? How many doors have you been through? 3. 3 doors, huh? And of those, did any of them bring anything back? Nothing. Oh, well, it's not an easy thing, recovering yourself. Or maybe you weren't behind any of those 3 doors. I wasn't? Yeah, that's gotta be it. That was your first time witnessing those tragedies. Yours is another door. So tell me, how do you feel looking behind those doors? Was it frightening? Saddening? Heart-wrenching? Well, let me tell you something. You were able to bear them because they weren't your tragedies. If the next door you open is yours, will you be able to bear it? Will you be able to accept your own tragedy? It's one thing seeing others suffering, but your own? If you have to face emotions you wanted to keep buried, secrets you wanted to keep hidden away, and pain you wanted to forget, do you think you'll be able to accept them as your own? If you can't, I wouldn't blame you. I wouldn't accuse you of running if you chose not to reclaim your old self. Nothing wrong with erasing your memory of something if it was so bad you didn't want to face it in the first place. Let it be rewritten as someone else's story. That'll make it a whole lot easier on you. 'Cause, you never know. The most unfortunate tale of all may well be your own. Perhaps that goes for everything about you. Is the weight I bear truly so great? If so, then what am I supposed to do? But I have not yet seen it, so you won't know till you see it. Well, it's true enough. But once you do, there might not be any turning back. Or do you mean to reclaim your old self no matter the cost? If you do, if you're sincerely prepared to do that, then be wary of the tale that comes next. What? Any tragedy that seems too beautiful to be real is precisely that, a fabrication. Fabrication? If it turns out you're someone from behind the next door, then perhaps you're my... What is this place? Ugh, talk about some hard-hitting questions. I'm probably not the one who'll be able to answer that for you. I don't have a very deep connection with this mansion, you see. I find that difficult to believe. I swear it. I got nothing to gain from lying, do I? It's my regrets that have turned me into this. I wasn't summoned here by no one. That said, there is one thing I can tell you. This place summons people. People who have ties to something that happened long, long ago. Summons? No one knows anything even happened. I didn't know either. Till she told me. Though I haven't the foggiest how much of it's true or not. Are you here because you were summoned by her? Or did you come here of your own will to find someone? We don't know, man. I don't know. I still don't know. But someone was calling for me. Sad, despairing cries. If you came here of your own volition and you weren't summoned by her, then mayhaps you'll be the one who can break. Who is the maid? Might as well ask her that directly. I tried. But you won't say till you've regained your old self? Right. I see. Well, in that case, if you want to know, you know what you gotta do. It's entirely up to you whether you make an ally or an enemy out of her. There's no guaranteeing she's even right in the head. What? You never know. Maybe you're not the only one who hasn't found themselves. Haven't talked that much in a long time. Feels great. And now that I've got that out of my system, I should be able to get some good sleep. I feel even more lost than I was before. You're probably still wandering in the dark right now, but I really hope you find the outcome you want. And I mean that. You can either reclaim your old self, or you can toss it aside. The choice is yours either way. Now, since it looks like your escort isn't showing up, what do you plan to do next? What should I do? How about taking a look around the place, since you've got a little free time? Could be you come across some things you wouldn't with her around. Oh, right. If you're gonna go exploring, I've got the perfect thing. Perfect thing? Stick your hand into the canvas, would you? The painting was still wrapped in an impenetrable darkness, a perfect, all-consuming void. The man had told the departed to put his hand into it. Yeah, whatever, give it to me. The departed extended his hand for the painting. The moment his fingertips brushed against the darkness, it swallowed the departed's entire hand up to the wrist. No, not there. That tickles. A little to the right. As the man in the painting had instructed, the departed groped around the inside of the darkness. Before long, he felt something hard at his fingertips. Clenching the object, the departed withdrew his hand. His arm was still intact. He spread his fingers, and there, the departed found a key. Tickled. With that key, you can access the master bedroom. A while back, she tossed it into me. A damn litterbug. She? So, yeah, it ain't mine. Don't worry about giving it back. However, I bet there's something worth seeing in there if she felt the need to toss that key. Alright. Well, I'm gonna get some sleep. You take care. If you happen to learn my name, come pay me another visit, should the fancy strike you. Having said that, the painting fell quiet. In the departed's hand lay a small key. It seemed rather antiquated and vaguely familiar. Silence once again drew over the corridor. The departed stood there all alone, no sign of the maid. After considering it for a few moments, the departed decided to explore the mansion on his own. Okay, so lots of places to go. Where shall we head? Should we just do everything in order? Go to the entrance? The departed made his way to the mansion's entrance. There was no one around, nor any source of light. Groping through the darkness, he found the front door, which was sealed shut with a heavy bar. He pressed against the bar, but it remained firmly in place. The door did not budge either. It seemed he could not leave the mansion.
Burn the witch. Crucify the impure.
When the departed made to step away from the entrance, he heard a muffled voice.
What was that?
He looked around, but was unable to determine the source of the voice. Nor could he be sure whom he had heard either.
It sends a chill through me. I feel like I know that voice very well.
Giving up on finding anything at the entrance, the departed decided to head somewhere else. Fireplace. The departed made his way to the room with a fireplace. What remained of the fire crackled weakly, leaving the room in a veil of darkness.
So cold.
The departed remembered that he had awoken here. Out of sheer curiosity, he sat down in the rocking chair he had been asleep in. Creak, creak, creak. It was as soothing as a cradle to a baby, and in short order, the departed found his consciousness drifting from his grasp. Reading a story by the fireplace like this almost makes it feel like we're in another world, doesn't it, Master? I bet that's why troubadours perform at pubs, so they can be near the fire. Oh, you're such a cynic. But that's okay. Say, do you remember when I first arrived here? When I was cleaning the library. The departed's eyes slowly slid open. Fragments of a pleasant dream lingered in the back of his mind. The crackling of a fire, the taste of warm wine. However, there was nothing pleasant about the fireplace sitting before him. No warm and crackling flames. In fact, the brisk air of the room overpowered the remnants of embers left there. A chill ran down the departed's spine. Afraid he might freeze stiff if he stayed there much longer, he resumed his exploration of the mansion. The scent of cigarette smoke lingered in the den. However, the room was silent. Not even an echo of the men's chattering remained. Something was moving. Billiards balls. There was no one present to strike the balls. They rolled spontaneously around the table. The paths they traced across the surface were rough and erratic, contrasting that of when the former master had held the cue. The spheres collided awkwardly with one another, not a single one coming close to the pockets.
What's going on?
As an experiment, the departed pulled the ball off the table. In response, the paths of the balls became even clumsier. Having lost one of their targets, they began bouncing aimlessly off the cushioned walls of the table. As the departed stared intently at the table, a man's voice rang out from somewhere in the room.
What?
Spinning around, the departed saw a silhouette of a man. However, he could not make out what the man was saying.
Who are you?
The man thrust his finger at the table. He appeared to want the departed to return the ball.
looks angry.
The departed reluctantly placed the billiards ball back on the table. When he did, the balls resumed endlessly colliding with one another, never landing in any of the pockets. The departed looked up to find the shadow gone. Having determined that the maid was not going to appear in the den, he exited the room, making his way back into the corridor. Rose garden. Look, your head is covered in roses.
Oh, you got petals on the book. This isn't mine. I can't afford to.
Though the departed could hear the sound of children laughing, he could not see them. Regardless, their cheerful voices warmed his heart. The departed decided to linger there in the garden for some time. Along with the children's laughs wafted a sweet fragrance. The wind blew, whisking flower petals up into the air. It was an enchanting sight. But after a while the roses began to wilt. The departed could no longer hear the children's voices either. A young man stood alone in the withered rose garden. As the departed drew nearer, he called out to the youth.
"Who are you?"
But the young man did not appear to notice him. He merely stood there, staring vacantly across the garden. The youth muttered something in a lifeless voice.
"This isn't what I wanted. I just wanted a normal, peaceful life. I can't bear being alone. I can't take this. Someone, get me out of here. Oh God, tell me that I'm not the bad one here." Look at me. Can you hear me?
The departed tried to call out to the young man several times, but he did not seem to hear him. He simply continued muttering to himself. Before long, the youth's shadow faded into nothing. Unable to bear the chilly air any longer, the departed stepped back into the mansion. To the cellar we go. When the departed descended into the cellar, he heard beast-like snarling. Along with it came a sour odor and the sound of ripping flesh. He could not see the beast, but that did not make it any less unpleasant.
Back upstairs.
The departed made to retreat from the cellar. But before he could, a shadowy creature lunged at him. He reflexively squeezed his eyes shut. After several moments, he opened his eyes again to find a silhouette of a man standing in place of the beast. The departed and the shadow stared at one another for some time. He asked the shadow a question, and the shadow responded.
"Who are you?"
However, he had no idea what it said. The shadow seemed to be trying to communicate something to the departed, but trying to make sense of something he could not understand was pointless.
"I have to get out of here."
Having no reason to remain in the cellar any longer, he made his way back upstairs. Library. The smell of dusty books filled the air of the library. The departed approached a shelf to examine one of the books. and suddenly an avalanche of them came falling to the floor. He stared blankly at the mountain of books. They had fallen down on their own, but they showed no signs of putting themselves away. Oh. Since no one else was there to do it, he began placing the books back on the shelf. 1, 2, 3, a dozen. And as soon as he had gotten them all back up... What on earth? They came crashing back down again. The departed wished very much to implore of the maid's assistance, but she did not appear to be in the area. Pretending he had not seen anything, the departed made his way back into the hallway. The departed approached the stained glass window. An array of pews was arranged facing the stained glass. There seemed to be an air of tranquility about the room. He sat down in one of the pews and stared quietly forward for some time.
It's an angel. The Archangel, Michael. Looking at him makes my chest go tight. Am I human?
For a moment, the departed felt like he was on the verge of recalling something, but ultimately, the memory never managed to surface. The maid did not appear to be there. Where could she have gone? The departed decided to resume exploring the mansion. To the master bedroom. The departed inserted the key he had been given into the door's keyhole, and with a twist, the door opened. The master bedroom was shrouded in darkness, much like every other room in the mansion. It had evidently been left unused for some time. The air in the room was stale and forlorn.
Master? What?
A voice seemed to ring out from somewhere. Come on, get up. Up with you. Master! See, what did I tell you? It's so much nicer in here with a little light. Without warning, the departed's whole world took on bright, vivid colors. Light streamed through the window, illuminating a well-lived bedroom. A woman's silhouette stood before the departed.
You're...
Wait a sec. Don't you hide under your bedspread. Get out of there. Oh, but Master, you agreed that I could open the windows.
The windows?
Don't worry, I've put curtains up. If it gets too bright, you can draw them.
Who are you?
Mornings take the best parts of being outside and squeeze them all into the same few hours.
Are you?
You don't have to go outside in the sunlight for it either. Just listen to all the wonderful sounds.
The one.
The joyous songs of the birds, the swaying of the trees, the rustling of the leaves.
Gave me light.
The departed tried to call out to the silhouette, but it did not respond. Reaching out for her, his hand simply passed through her body.
I wish to put my hand on you.
It did not seem to be him that she was speaking to. Perhaps he was looking at a scene from some other period of time. Am I being as pushy as I feel right now?
I wish
Mm.
to call your name. But I cannot remember it.
I completely misjudged you.
Say,
You're the exact opposite of what I thought you were.
my name.
Let's see. I thought you were cold and cruel, heartless and incomprehensible.
Speak.
But I'm beginning to get a better idea.
To me.
You try to put on airs, but you're really rather childish. You have a short temper, but can be surprisingly playful. What else? You have a pretty difficult personality too. Now, hear me out here. That's not everything. You gave me a chance to talk, and you listened intently. You can be kind of nice, too. We agreed that we would live together, not just in the same house, so we've got plenty of time to add more to the list. And I hope you can make your own list about me, too. This is just the beginning after all. We've got a long, long time ahead of us. Plenty enough to get to know each other, no? Let's not waste any time then. What do you say we do something today that we haven't been able to before? Where should we begin? Oh, I know. We can get this place cleaned up. Now that there's some actual light in here, we can see all sorts of things we'd probably rather not. Like dust all over the place. When the woman's shadow faded away, the master bedroom transformed back into its old, dreary state. Master, can you say my name?
The departed was unsure how to describe the urge welling up within his breast. He could not say her name. The departed stood unmoving in the master bedroom for some time, but it did not appear anything else was going to happen. So, he decided to head somewhere else.
You can go back to the stained glass window? The departed returned to the room with the stained glass window. He had searched throughout the mansion but had no luck finding the maid. He felt somewhat tired, though he was not quite sure whether it was physical exhaustion or otherwise.
This darkness feels like it's draining me of my strength, like I'm slowly being smothered beneath it.
He had little interest in doing any more moving about. Taking a seat in one of the pews, the departed gazed up at the stained glass. Staring solemnly down back at him was the archangel said to weigh the souls of the deceased.
Michael.
Perhaps he was trying to weigh the departed soul.
My soul is probably not very heavy.
Master! Master! Oh, there you are, Master. You gave me quite the scare. After returning from the third door, you disappeared without a word.
It was you who disappeared.
Oh my. It was I who disappeared? That is quite strange. I did not go anywhere, as far as I'm aware. Nevertheless, I'm glad to have found you. I would have been at a complete loss for what to do if I had been separated from you yet again.
Again? You said you were waiting for me.
I did indeed say that when you first arrived. I have been waiting for your return for a very long time. For centuries, as a matter of fact. That would make me a ghost then, you say?
I didn't say that. She seems very perky. I suspect she's not in her right mind. Am I in mine, though?
I am very much not a ghost. Would I be able to hold your hand if I were? Saying this, the maid took the departed's hand. It was cold enough to send a shudder down his spine, and completely devoid of life. Though, as chilling as it may have been, he still took comfort in the feeling of her hand in his.
If we were both dead, then maybe we could still touch each other.
The maid looked down at the departed with gentle eyes. After a few moments of silence, she sat down beside him. The stained glass is quite beautiful, is it not? Every time I see it, it brings a tranquility to my heart.
It does the opposite for me.
A dreadful, deep-rooted curse afflicts this mansion. However, this room is the one exception. Can you feel the purity that hangs in the air, Master?
I have a question.
Yes? What is it, Master?
Why is the stained glass still there? It was.
You are correct. The stained glass window had been shattered and was not present in the time period of the previous tale.
So why is it here?
I wonder. Perhaps it is because the mansion we are in presently resides in a realm separate from the real world. We are in a world constructed from myriad memories and histories. I am sure that when you regain your old self, Master, the mansion too shall be restored to its original state. So do try and remember, all right? Oh, yes. Where did you go in my absence, Master?
I wandered around.
I see. So you explored the mansion then? And did you find anything noteworthy?
I gathered what appeared to be memories.
Memories? I am not quite sure what you mean. How peculiar. As a servant of this house, I pride myself in being aware of most everything present within these walls. I wonder whose memories they could be.
The key to the master bedroom.
The key to the master bedroom?
Why did you throw it away?
Why did I throw away the key? I beg your pardon?
The painting.
You say a painting told you? The departed could see the perplexity on the maid's face. He had never seen her make such an expression before. I know nothing of any key. Oh, Master, you should not tell jokes meant to cause others discomfort. But a talking painting, you say? You seem to have a rather vivid imagination. Maybe you can tell the next tale, Master. I'm only teasing. Now, that was a nice break, but we should get moving. The tale I am about to show you is the last of the mansion's memories.
The last? Maybe this time there will actually be some trace of me.
I am certain you will remember yourself after seeing it. To our feet. The final door is not far. And please, do not let go of my hand. Holding the departed's hand, the maid led him to the far end of the room. Crossing beneath the stained glass window, a metal door came into view. Our destination lies at the top of these stairs. There we will find one last door. She pushed open the metal door, revealing a long, long spiral staircase. It will be a bit of a walk, so let us be on our way. And please do watch your step. This is called an observation tower. Normally, towers such as this were built in castles or churches, so it is rather strange for there to be one in a mansion. The last door I wish to show you, Master, resides at the top of this tower.
The observation tower, she cries. From the top of the tower, and I.
Rectangular windows were carved out of the stone in several locations along the way up the spiral staircase. The departed attempted to peer out of one of the windows, but all he could see was a thick layer of fog. Perhaps the maid's suggestion that the mansion did not presently reside in reality was, in fact, correct. With each step upward, he found himself gripped by an indescribable sense of anxiety.
Up ahead, something tells me there is something at the top of these stairs that will stimulate my memories.
The feeling somewhat resembled irritation or annoyance. Sensing this, the maid tightly gripped his hand. There is nothing to worry about. You will be fine. It is all in the past. No matter what may happen, so long as you do not let go of my hand, you have nothing to fear.
All in the past. But is it truly?
The departed and the maid continued climbing the stairs. Up and up, around and around, marching ever nearer the supposed final door. High up into the tower, as the light from below drew distant, a rotten wood door came into view. Patches of what appeared to be blood stained the surface, and holes had been born into it, with sharp objects of some sort. The departed heard a scream from far below, where no one should have been. "Kill the witch! Kill the witch! Kill the witch! Burn her! Burn her! Burn her! Burn her!" He was struck with fear. The next moment, the maid opened the door. And then he slowly descended into darkness. The fourth door. This sure is early.
Set on a pot, set it on, and also pour water into it. Gather the pieces thereof into it, even every good piece, the thigh and the shoulder. Fill it with the choice bones. Take the choice of the flock,
and burn also the bones under it, and make it boil well, and let them seethe the bones of it therein. Thus saith the Lord, woe to the bloody city, to the pot whose scum is therein, and whose scum is not gone out of it. Bring it out piece by piece, let no lot fall upon it.
Where is she? Where'd she go? She came down this way. I'm sure of it. Find her. Find her. And burn her. Burn the witch. 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 Burn her. Burn her. Burn her.
Then will I leave thee upon the land, I will cast thee forth upon the open field, and will cause all the fowls of the heaven to remain upon thee, and I will fill the beasts of the whole earth with thee, and I will lay thy flesh upon the mountains, and fill the valleys with thy hide. I will also water with thy blood the land wherein thou swimmest, even to the mountains, and the rivers shall be full of thee. And when I purge thee out, I will cover the heaven, and make the stars thereof dark. I will cover the sun with a cloud, and the moon shall not give her light. All the bright lights of heaven will I make dark over thee, and set darkness upon thy land. I seem to have lost them. Now, where am I? Where should I go from here? What am I to do? Darkness spreads as far as the eye can see. Not a ray of light shines down upon me. All that strokes my cheek are tendrils of darkness. Every passing day, every fading hour, my world is engulfed in ebony. There exists no kindness in this shadow, only solitude. I've lost track of how long I've been on the run, wandering aimlessly, lost, until I arrived at this dark forest. I no longer have anywhere to go. O Father, who art in heaven, I kneel to thee within my heart, and ask of thee thy blessing. O Father, who art in heaven, I ask of thee to shine thy light upon me and show me the way. Please, have mercy upon my soul. O Father, who art in heaven, I do love thee dearly. Hallowed be thy name. Please show me the way. I may be shunned and persecuted, and I may have no place to go, but nevertheless, I am unable to give up on life, to cast aside my hope. O Father who art in heaven, please guide me unto salvation. O Father who art in heaven, please guide me. I can no longer remember when my life became naught but running, when it became endless wandering in the dark. And now, when I've reached the point where I've long since forgotten, I hunger and thirst. My voice has become hoarse, my vision gone blurry, and my consciousness begun sinking into a hazy morass. That mansion appears before me wrapped in a morning fog that seems to foretell rain. Oh my. The mansion comes into view like the world fainting in after a dream. It doesn't appear as though anyone lives here. All the windows are either boarded up or shuttered, as if it's long since been abandoned. A tower, which seems out of place in a personal residence, stands tall beside the mansion. The whole building seems as though it could disappear with the fog. It has an unwelcoming presence, freezing me in my tracks. However, if this is where you have led me, then I shall follow your guidance. Having nowhere else to go, this mansion is my only salvation, the light that guides my way. And so I must have faith that no matter what I find, whether spirits or wild beasts dwell within these walls, that this is where I will find peace. Is anyone there? I guess it is abandoned. That makes sense. It would be more unusual for someone to be living in a house so deep in the woods, so far from civilization, like it's been forgotten to time. I can't imagine anyone spending their days here. I place my hand on the front door. What if I can't get in? I very much doubt I'll find anywhere else to stay wandering around through the woods. If the door doesn't open, then I'll die out here in the forest. I've come to accept much, but I'm not ready to forfeit my life yet. Please open. The door is heavy, and though it seems to protest my attempts to enter, it still opens much easier than I was expecting. I was worried over nothing. Looking in, I get the strangest impression light is being swallowed up into the mansion's depths. Rather than going inside, it feels as though I'm about to step outside the boundaries of this world. When I close the door, it's so dark I can't even tell where I'm walking. I wonder if the window's open. Though I manage to fumble my way over to a window, it's tightly shuttered, and the shutters are caked with rust. I'm probably not getting it open without a fight. If only I had some source of light. I can't even see my hand waving in front of my face. It feels like the floor will fall from under me and I'll sink to eternal darkness if I don't watch my step. Fighting back that fear, I slowly walk forward, tracing the wall with my hand. There's a door at the end of a long corridor. I pull it open, and a wisp of bone-chilling air brushes past me. It's too dark to see anything, but I can feel something different present in this area than the rest of the house. Uneasiness grips me. Is anybody here? My voice simply disappears into the void. No response. As I'm pushing forward through the freezing air. For a split second, I spot For a split second, I spot a shimmer of light. Pardon? Squinting my eyes, I'm able to make out a large window. Unlike the others, it's not shuttered, but covered by drapes. My chances are slim, I imagine, but if there's even a slight possibility of getting some light in here, it's worth a shot. So, I pull open the drapes. The next moment, faint but colorful light shines down upon me. It's a stained glass window. From beyond the glass, I can hear the subtle pitter-patter of rain. I guess it finally started. The different colors of light blend into a milky white, dim but wondrous. It's gorgeous. Why would someone cover this up? It's beautiful. With a little more light, it'd be...
Please do not touch the drapes. Or the windows.
Suddenly, I hear a voice, and I can sense someone else in the room. The man's voice is emotionless, neither deep nor high. Before long, he comes into view, illuminated by dull orange candlelight. I'm sorry for coming in uninvited, but, I did announce myself. The man stands there, practically blending in with the darkness. Has he been there the whole time? He's staring straight at me. His gaze wavers slightly, but not enough for me to read anything in it. The candle in his hand and the light from the stained glass window are the only illumination in the room, neither of which are particularly bright. As a result, his outline is faint and blurred. It gives off the impression that he might vanish entirely between blinks. My apologies. I assumed the house was abandoned.
I suspect you would have preferred it to be abandoned.
Not at all. Is this, do you live in this mansion?
Yes, I have for a very long time. I thought I had barred the front door, but it would seem I left it open. What brings you here? If you're lost, I'm happy to give you directions. There is a village west of here. It should take you maybe half a day on foot. If you are in need of money, help yourself to some of the furniture. Trade it for food at the village, then make your way to a larger town.
Please, allow me to stay here.
Could you repeat that?
I cannot go to the village. No, I cannot go anywhere. I'm no longer able to freely return to any town. I'm being hunted.
You seem rather young to be a sinner. So you have transgressed?
I am neither a thief nor an adulterer. If I bear any sin, then it has been with me since birth. I will do everything I can to stay out of your way. I simply ask that you grant me shelter until it all blows over. If you wish to know of my transgression, I will tell you. So please, do not throw me out.
I see. And do you ask this of me, aware of how people refer to this mansion?
Pardon?
It is said that a witch once lived in this house. And not just any witch, a cursed witch. This house has been tainted by her seething hatred, and all who dwell within it meet their demise.
But you live here, don't you?
Like her, I too am cursed.
Hmm? What kind of curse?
The one thing I can tell you is that your life is in danger if you get involved with me. Should you approach my curse, I am likely to take your life.
You'll kill me?
Yes, so you do not belong here. To live with me in this mansion is to sentence yourself to death.
No matter what path I choose, I very much doubt I have a future. And if that's the case, then I shall live how I want. I don't care what people say about you or this mansion. I wish to stay here. You might think I'm rather strange, but my heart tells me that I must stay here, that I was guided here. And hearing what you have to say only reinforces that.
What are you scheming?
I am not scheming anything. I'm simply tired of running. So if your curse is going to kill me, then perhaps it's for the best. At the very least, you won't be hunting me. You won't try to flay me, or tear off my arms, or rip the flesh from my bones. And that's enough for me.
If you have committed no sin, then why do they hunt you so fervently?
I am accused of being a witch. Master, please, wake up. Return to me. Have you come to, Master? I apologize for sending you through the door without warning. It must have given you quite the scare. But I beg your forgiveness. I heard a terrible screaming from down the stairs and I panicked. You say you saw the white-haired girl? Ah, I see. So you made it into the world beyond the door before me. I am deeply relieved that I was able to take your hand before losing sight of you. I presume you have already grown familiar with the atmosphere of this time period, Master. If you have seen her, as you said, then you should have a basic grasp of the situation. She was a very misfortunate girl in this era, accused of being a witch, abused and persecuted. Her life was in constant danger. It was, again, her appearance that brought this upon her. That snow-white hair and those ruby-red eyes clearly differentiated her from everyone else. Oh, and I apologize. I neglected to mention that this door is unique. As for what sets it apart, that will be made clear as we proceed, though one difference is in the time period. The tales I have shown you begin with that of the beautiful flaxen-haired family, followed by the tale of the bloodthirsty beast, and then the tale of steel and ambition, proceeding in chronological order. However, the door we have just entered takes us to the period now known as the Middle Ages, long before the other three tales. Yes, that is correct. This is where it all began. The mansion's curse, the truth of the witch, and your identity. I'm just going to take a moment. Okay. Alright. All of this should be made known. If, after this tale, you are still unable to reclaim your old self, then there is nothing more I can do. This door contains the last tale I am able to tell you. So I ask of you, please do not let go of my hand until it is all over. Now then, let us begin a beautiful, tragic love story of two solitary souls trapped in a mansion of darkness. In that era, the mansion was a dungeon draped in darkness. After a great deal of time on the run, the white-haired girl found herself at a remote mansion that stood in a dark, overgrown forest. All the windows were either boarded or shuttered, and it was even darker inside the house than out. Not even a ray of moonlight could enter those walls. Only naturally, the white-haired girl had assumed that nobody lived there, but her guess was incorrect. Someone did, indeed, dwell in the house. It was a young man named Michel. Though she could not make out the details of his face in the candlelight, she thought him a very handsome man. However, he proclaimed to her that a witch resided within the mansion, and that he, too, was cursed. Everyone who got close to him lost their lives. Do you think that what he told her was all nonsense? A lie devised to chase her out of the house? The truth of the matter shall come to light in time. Despite Michelle's assertions, the white-haired girl decided she would take up residence within the mansion. This era's white-haired girl was younger than the others. She was still in her early teens, young enough to be seen as still a child. But she was neither as self-centered nor irresponsible as you might expect of someone her age. She was very delicate and reserved, and acted with a great deal of modesty and restraint. The accusations of her being a criminal and a sinner were grossly inappropriate. Nevertheless, she was still chased from her home, barely managing to flee to this mansion with her life. Now, the white-haired girl thought it would be rude to simply take up space in the mansion, so she chased down the master, Michel, and asked, Is there anything I can do to help? I will clean, or cook, or do anything. Just let me know. I want to repay you for allowing me to stay here.
You need not feel indebted to me. The weight of that obligation will only turn into disdain.
But I can't just stay here and do nothing.
Do whatever you like, as long as you do not enter my room. That is all I ask of you.
He said emotionlessly, turning away and walking off. Michelle was not, I believe, spurning her. He was merely disinterested. He did not treat her disrespectfully, nor did he seem averse to her presence. Words simply did not seem to affect him at all. Not only was the mansion a prison for his body was also a prison ensnaring his heart. I should still do whatever I can. But she did not let that get her down. In fact, she might have even interpreted his disinterest as kindness. Though he was a bit standoffish, he did not attempt to cause her harm. He was nothing like the people who had accused her of being a witch and forced her to flee for her life. And she was deeply grateful for that. Thus began their quiet life together. Michelle, who avoided contact with others, and the white-haired girl, who had taken a great deal of abuse from others. Two people who knew hardly anything about one another, who were too distant to really be said to be living together. Michelle spent most of his day in his chambers, so they only ever saw each other occasionally, and they hardly ever spoke. Though they stayed in the same house, they both still lived solitary lives. Nonetheless, the white-haired girl wanted to get to know Michelle better. She wanted to know why he called himself cursed. Why he lived alone in this dark mansion. How many days, how many years he had spent here in solitude. And while she waited for the opportunity, she also started doing things around the house. The first project she set out to take care of was cleaning. As the windows were all firmly shut, her only source of light was candles. For whatever reason, there was a great deal of candles stored in the cellar. She wondered where on earth he had acquired so many, but she never found the opportunity to ask him. It was difficult to see all the dust and cobwebs with only candlelight, and considering the poor airflow through the house, she was afraid her efforts were going to be in vain. Still, she persisted, sweeping and wiping things down, one room at a time. Eventually, she made her way to the library. The dust that had settled here was much heavier than any other room. With each breath, she had to fight back coughs. It was not a room one would normally be comfortable spending much time in, but the sight of so many bulky volumes lining the shelves sent her heart aflutter with delight. They're books. Incredible. Real books. The white-haired girl had never seen a book before. She had heard people describe them, but that was the first time she had ever seen one for herself. Parchment was a very valuable commodity in that era. It was something monks or scholarly priests made use of, and not a material one could easily acquire without some degree of social rank. Books were not printed with machines, but copied by hand. A single volume took an incredible amount of work to create. Even the process of binding was an art. Standing before a shelf, she stared intently at the spines. Oh, so much dust. Does he not read any of them? Just a peek. Just a tiny little peek. She said, making excuses to the empty room as she reached her hand toward one of the books. The tome that caught her eye was on the upper shelf. It bore gorgeous jade embossing and looked like it belonged in a treasure chest. Almost. Though she tended to act older than her age, the white-haired girl was still in her early teens and not especially tall. Even standing tiptoe, it was still just barely within reach. At long last, her slender fingers made contact with the spine, and she began to pull the book toward her. Ah! The library had sat abandoned for some time, causing the covers to stick together, so when she attempted to pull one out, several others tilted with it. And then, almost all the books on the shelf came avalanching down onto her. Ow! The white-haired girl groaned, buried under a mountain of parchment. She hoped she had not damaged any of the host's valuable collection, for the mess was enough of a setback already in her attempt to express her gratitude. Looking around, she saw one volume that was almost torn in half. She did not know whether it was in that condition before, or if it had happened in the fall, but nonetheless she felt horribly guilty. Sitting there, unable to get back to her feet, tears began welling in her eyes. Then, suddenly, a shadow fell over the dejected girl. It took a book in its hand and returned it to the shelf. For a brief moment, the shadow's hand reached hesitantly toward the white-haired girl, then changed course toward another book. It was Michel. There was a hint of perplexity in his otherwise emotionless eyes. Perhaps he had heard the noise and come to see what had caused it. I'm so sorry. Your books,
What were you doing?
I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to make a mess. I didn't mean to damage such precious books.
There's no need to panic.
I'm sorry.
You make it sound as though I'm admonishing you.
What?
Did you want to read a book?
I do, but that's not what I originally came here to clean.
Clean?
Yes, I felt guilty simply being idle.
I did say you could do as you pleased, but you have no responsibility to clean anything.
I just ended up making a bigger mess anyway. I'm sorry.
You needn't apologize.
Okay.
If you want to read, help yourself to any of the books.
But I don't know how to read. I just thought the cover was pretty, so I wanted to hold it.
You are free to use them however you wish. If looking at them is enough for you, by all means.
These are all your books, aren't they?
They are.
That's incredible. You have so many. It must have taken you a long time to acquire them all.
1 per month.
What?
My family sends me one every month.
Every month. The white-haired girl turned her gaze back toward the shelves, squinting her eyes and beginning to count. When she finished, she was in awe. There were in excess of 100 books on the shelves, which meant he had lived there in solitude for many years. She was at a loss for words.
They're dull tomes, dreadfully inoffensive and not even interesting enough to waste a few hours with. Decoration is all they're good for.
I see.
If you can put them to some use, then perhaps my having them won't be entirely meaningless anymore. I'm going to return to my room. Don't feel obligated to clean up.
Just a minute.
Was there something else?
Could you tell me your name? I just realized I never asked for your name. Not knowing what to call you will make conversation awkward.
You don't need my name to.
I want to, though.
Michelle.
Michelle. Like the Archangel. The name suits you quite well.
It suits me.
It does, although it's difficult to see you in the dark. You seem to be a very handsome man, befitting of your name.
I beg to differ. Giving me his name is the highest form of mockery. I expect the real Archangel is probably rather annoyed by it.
I don't know. I think it's a wonderful name.
And your...
Hmm?
No, never mind.
Oh, my name? My name is Giselle. Please, call me Giselle. Oh, my goodness.
For what?
That I was able to get your name and talk to you for a little bit. We haven't seen much of each other since I first arrived, so I'm glad that I got to hear your voice. So very glad.
You gain nothing by speaking to me. You have no responsibility to do so, and there's no need for you to feel joy about it.
I'm not pleased out of some sense of responsibility or necessity. It's just depressing not being able to have a conversation with someone living in the same house.
You do not understand me at all. As I said on that first day, my curse will one day kill you.
But I'm still alive, aren't I?
You're welcome to believe I'm lying, or that I'm merely out of my mind. But it will be too late when you realize the truth.
I'll be fine, I'm sure. And even if I do die because of your curse, I promise I won't hold a grudge. Could you possibly be keeping away from me out of concern?
No, I simply have no interest in interacting with anyone.
I would like to interact with you. If you don't mind, that is.
As I told you, you have nothing to gain from that. I have nothing, not even words, to give you. My body is but a shell. Even if I were not cursed, my presence would do naught but cause you discomfort.
I don't think that's true. I don't believe that there's anyone in this world with absolutely nothing. There's plenty inside you. You simply haven't noticed it yet. And not all of it will only cause others pain either.
If you truly believe those words, then you are a foolhardy girl. How can you trust someone you only just met? For that matter, how do you not resent everyone?
Resent them?
I can take a guess as to why people call you a witch, and why you had to flee all the way to this mansion. Your white hair and red eyes, that abnormal, seemingly inhuman appearance, drew their condemnation. And I can think of any number of reasons they might have started treating you less than human. Perhaps people around you experienced misfortune, or perhaps there was a natural disaster, a famine, a plague, some kind of external phenomenon, and you were their scapegoat.
Yes, you are, by and large, correct.
Then, that would make me as unworthy of your trust as anyone else. I make no claim to having your interests in mind. Goodbye.
If you don't mind, could you teach me how to read sometime?
Did you listen to anything I said?
I listened, yes. I have no intention of idolizing you. I don't expect you to do anything for me, and I don't wish to burden you in any way. I simply wish to be allowed to be at your side. It does not matter to me what kind of person you may be. That is all I want. I apologize for keeping you. Please consider it, if it's not too much trouble. As the master of the house, Michel made his way out of the library. He appeared to be slightly rattled. Perhaps the white-haired girl's determination had ignited something in his chained heart. Or perhaps it was something else. She stared toward the darkness into which Michel had disappeared. Then she carefully wrapped her arms around the jade-embossed tome, a soft smile spreading across her lips. He's a decent man. I'm sure of it. We're alike, he and I. And thus began to blossom within her a faint sense of fellowship, as someone who also knew solitude. It had been about a week since the white-haired girl had taken up residence in the mansion. Staying in that house deprived of light was, I imagine, a very claustrophobic experience. To anyone blessed enough to have sunlight as part of their everyday lives, it would have been unbearable. But for her, the mansion, with its prison walls and lack of either illumination or recreation, was the one place she could find respite. She and Michel continued to be distant, however. He spent most of his time in his chambers, which he had explicitly told the white-haired girl to stay out of, leaving her unable to close that gap. Nonetheless, on the occasions they did cross paths in the hallway, the eyes would meet, if but briefly. It was never for more than a few seconds. Whenever she saw him, she made a point of giving him a little smile. He never said anything, but still, when she had first arrived, he would not even have met her gaze. He seemed to be taking more and more notice of her. One day, the white-haired girl stood in the cellar, a frown on her face. Well, this is troubling. I can't go down to the village, but if we don't do something soon... The cellar was where their food was stored, an assortment of non-perishables and dried foods, smoked meats and cheeses. Her daily meals were taken from the supplies there. However, the stockpile was beginning to grow quite small. Were she not on the run, she could have gone to the village to procure more. Or perhaps were she a little tougher, she could have captured a wild animal for its meat. But master, you know, a young delicate thing like her was hardly up to the task of hunting for food. How does he normally get his supplies, I wonder? From there, other questions about Michel started rising in her mind. No matter how lifeless he seemed, surely you still had to eat, right? The white-haired girl nodded, then made her way out of the cellar, intending to head for his bedchamber. But on her way there, she spotted him standing by the entrance, staring motionless at the door, lit by a single candle. He appeared to be waiting for something. May I ask you a question?
Go on.
I was just down in the cellar and I noticed we were running low on food. Do you normally go down to the village to restock?
I haven't been outside in 10 years.
Then how do you...
What if I told you? I don't eat. That I am not of this world. And as such, I have no need of sustenance. What would you think of that?
That sounds very, economical. If you can survive without having to eat, that's one less thing to worry about. If it were possible, I'd like to have that ability too.
It would seem trying to frighten you is a waste of time.
Was I supposed to be afraid?
Never mind. It doesn't matter. You asked about the food in the cellar. It's getting to be about that time. Wait, and you will find out.
What do you...
It's here.
Oh.
If you want to know where my supplies come from, open the door.
But, I'm in hiding.
There's no one at the door anymore. The knock is nothing more than a signal.
A signal? The white-haired girl turned toward Michelle to press him for more information, but he averted his gaze. Find the answer yourself, he seemed to be saying. She took several moments to gather her will, then marched over to the door. So bright. The sunlight, which she had not seen in some time, was so bright it seemed to burn her eyes. Although the sun itself had not gotten any brighter, she had simply spent so much time in the dark, her eyes were no longer accustomed to that much light. The color of her eyes made them quite sensitive to light already, so when she stepped outside, her whole world went bone white. The white-haired girl stood motionless for 10, perhaps 15 seconds, and when her eyes had finally adjusted to the light... What's this? She noticed a crate on the ground at her feet. She turned her head back to ask Michelle about the box, but the mansion was so dark, it appeared to be wholly severed from the outside world. From where she stood, she was unable to distinguish Michelle from the shadows. A pang of nervousness struck her. She wanted to return to that darkness as quickly as possible. The white-haired girl had come to yearn for that world without light more than the one with. The crate was fairly hefty. The slightly built girl had considerable difficulty bringing it into the house. But eventually, she did manage to drag it through the front door. And then, everything went dark once more, except for the faint flicker of candlelight floating in the air.
You can leave it there. I'll take care of the rest.
What's... Without a word, Michelle approached her in the box, withdrawing a knife that he had evidently kept hidden somewhere on his person. With it, he cut through the rope that bound the box.
Go on. Open it up.
At his insistence, she placed her hand upon the lid. She had no idea what lay inside this unexpected delivery. Whoever had brought it was already long gone. Staring at the strange box, she was racked with nervousness. However, what she found when she pushed aside the lid was completely ordinary food.
Is something amusing?
It was just rather anticlimactic. Here I was worried about what might be inside.
We were just talking about the supplies in the cellar.
So we were. It completely slipped my mind. This should last us for some time. It's all preserved, just like what's in the cellar. But I don't understand. Who would deliver all of this to you?
There should be a book in there as well.
What? Oh, there it is. In the library he had said that his family sends him 1 book a month. Does that mean this box came from them? If so, then why did the person who delivered this leave without speaking to him? What happened between him and his family? Is he here because they want him here? Or because he chose to be here?
Take the book to the library, please. I will bring the rest of the supplies to the cellar.
But it's a big box. I'm sure you could use some help carrying it.
That won't be necessary. Take the book and go.
But...
Fine. Then stay here. I'll take care of everything.
Oh, wait. Hold on, please.
What is it?
You don't have to answer this if you don't want to. And, I'm not trying to pry, but I can't help but be curious.
Say what you have to say, please.
I was wondering if you could tell me why you live here, in this mansion. Why did whoever delivered this box leave before you even opened the door? Could you perhaps be imprisoned here?
I told you this the very first day. I am cursed. It's only natural for a cursed man to live in a cursed house.
Yes, but that's such a vague answer. I don't understand why you're in the situation you are. I don't know how you feel about it. There's so much I don't know. And I'm not even sure if your curse actually exists.
I see. That is a perfectly reasonable doubt from your point of view. Having been branded a witch because of your appearance, it would make sense that you would think my curse might be fabricated, or perhaps a metaphor for something else. All right then. Come with me.
What?
I'll show you my curse.
As he turned on his heels, the white-haired girl caught a glimpse of what appeared to be a smirk on his face, like the whole thing was some kind of sick joke. That smile carved into his mask was far colder than any look of annoyance or rejection. But despite the twinge of nervousness, she still followed after Michelle. As much as he might have stood out in a crowd, with such height and long hair, his presence was almost entirely eroded away by the darkness. She felt that he could simply fade away into nothingness at any moment.
Many things are buried here. Mice, insects, wild cats, and dogs. Have you ever thought it strange how little life there seemed to be around this mansion?
You were right. I haven't seen a single creature since I arrived. The only sound you can hear is the wind blowing. Now that you mention it, it did seem peculiar.
They were all killed by me. Or rather, they lost their lives because of me. You have your answer now.
A butterfly fluttered its way into the ruined garden, dancing up and down through the air. Michel held out a finger before himself, and the butterfly, mistaking it for a branch, drifted down upon it to rest its wings. Had the scene stopped there, it would have been a picturesque moment.
All that comes into contact with me loses its life. My skin, the breath I exhale, my flesh and blood, is poison to all life.
But the butterfly's movements began to slow. It spread its wings in one last, futile attempt to fight gravity, and then, without warning, it shriveled up into a dry husk. It's dead, all dried up and lifeless, like it's been dead for days. It's like his finger drained all the life of it. Is this his curse? Is that even possible? But I saw it with my own eyes. If this is his curse, though, it explains much.
There are more than just insect and animal corpses buried here, too. Servants who came to visit me long ago.
Here, beneath the ground, under our very feet.
That's why the servant leaves before I open the door. Should he touch me, should he get near me, his very life is in danger. No one is interested enough in seeing me to take that risk. No one will have anything to do with me. Nary a soul even wishes to see my face. Now you understand what I meant when I said I would eventually kill you.
So that's why you have never once touched me. When I knocked the books down in the library, you didn't offer your hand to help me up. And only one of us ever made contact with the box at the entrance at a time. When I offered to help you carry it, you refused. Because you didn't want your finger to accidentally brush against mine.
My actions were not out of concern for you. I simply disliked people. Others' interests mean nothing to me. What an odd face you're making. Do you not believe my curse is real?
No, I do. It is certainly irrational. It is certainly irrational, inexplicable, unbelievable. But you've shown me more than enough evidence. And I don't believe you're lying to me right now either.
In which case, you now understand how dangerous it is to be near me. You said that if you left, you'd be killed. But it's been some time since then. If you're careful to cover your tracks, you could make your escape. You do not belong here.
He was telling the truth about being cursed. What a cruel burden to have to bear. I can't imagine just how much he's given up on. How many lives he's inadvertently taken. And how he must have felt every time it happened. How much pain that loneliness must have given him. how much despair he must carry in his heart. How much sorrow must be weighing down on him. So, no, I will not leave. I will stay here with you.
Leave this place.
No, I will not.
Why? Why do you insist upon remaining in this house after learning what I can do? You have no reason to stay.
Tell me then, why do you try to drive me out? If you don't care for others as you say, if you're not concerned about anyone else, then what does it matter what I do? What does it matter if I die to your curse? You're a very kind-hearted man. You've been watching out for me since the day I arrived, doing whatever you can to not inadvertently kill me, to not afflict me with your curse.
No.
Here's what I think. No one capable of showing genuine care for others can honestly, truly dislike all people. They can't possibly be indifferent.
No,
That day we met before the stained glass window, you heard me out. You listened to my plight. You didn't try to chase me out. That day, I thought you to be a good person. And I still believe that.
I simply assumed you would leave on your own when it was safe. I never thought you would be so foolish as to want to stay in a house like this with a man like me.
How does that make me foolish?
Do you not value your life? Are you not afraid of death? Do you not find me unpleasant?
The thing I fear most is loneliness. You're probably right that by now I could safely sneak away, get myself somewhere far from here. But even if I did, I would inevitably find myself in the same situation. The only way I can avoid that fate is to stay away from everyone, to live in solitude, with no one to talk to. I know you understand how that feels. It terrifies me. I'm afraid of having to spend day after day with no one to talk to, no one to share my experiences, my thoughts, my feelings with. If that's what awaits me out there, then I want to live with you. I want you to be an essential part of my life.
Impossible.
Please, don't chase me out.
You are a cruel girl. Never again will I allow myself to get close to someone, only to watch them die. Never again. My mother was the first to die. It happened shortly after my birth. Next was my wet nurse. 2 deaths could be considered a coincidence, but as the number rose, it became clear that I was cursed, and I was forbidden from making contact with anyone, even at home. Regardless, being in the same house, accidents will happen. Numerous people lost their lives. Attendants unfamiliar with me, or those who simply brushed up against me by mistake. I could not take it any longer.
So you chose to move here, to this remote mansion, to keep yourself away from your family. You weren't imprisoned here. You elected to live alone, so you wouldn't hurt anyone.
For better or for worse, I was born into a noble house. So rather than abandon me, they've provided me the means to live out of sight.
I will be very careful. I will do everything I can to ensure no accidents occur, to keep you from being alone again. I will not, for any reason, touch you. You have my promise. Your curse takes the life of anything you touch. I've been here for a while, and death has not befallen me yet. As long as I do not touch you, there shouldn't be a problem. Also, and, I apologize if this is simply me reading too much into things, but I feel like we're two of a kind. I fear being utterly alone more than anything, and I think you understand just how scary that is. So...
Why are you so stubbornly insistent on it being me? I'm sure there's someone else out there, someone you're meant to be with. You may not have found them yet, but I believe someone like you eventually will. Because unlike me, you still have the vigor to press forward.
It has to be you. I'm certain of it.
Why?
Because, well, I...
You can't tell me?
No, I can. Please don't get upset with me. I think... I might really, really love you. Should we read this last bit? Should we call it here? I'm trying to think of a good place to leave off so that we can finish tidily next time. One more section then? One more? His was a power that evoked images of witches or demons, the unclean and the impure. A mere touch was all it took for him to strip man and beast alike of its life. God has quite a cruel streak to bestow such a power upon such a beautiful young man. And a strange power it was indeed, like something out of a fairy tale. Like something confined to words upon the page, it seemed. Otherworldly, unbelievable. Nonetheless, as he had demonstrated to the white-haired girl, his peculiar powers were indeed real. That said, the world has its fair share of oddities. It just so happens that those curiosities tend to remain hidden away, known only to a few. Although you have laid eyes upon a number of unusual phenomena yourself, Master. The doors to the past, through which we have passed, this very mansion, and as a matter of fact, the two of us. Now, as you just saw, the white-haired girl found herself enraptured with this man and his accursed power. How do you think Michelle acted in response to her proclamation? He had spent so long refusing to interact with others. No, unable to interact with them. As such, he was unsure how to respond. After standing there expressionless for a few moments, he muttered,
"I'll consider it."
And with that, he returned to his chambers. While he was not someone who wore his heart on his sleeve, I personally do not believe he was completely devoid of emotions. he had simply forgotten how to express them in his extended solitude. So I think he was, in that moment, in a state of complete panic. She had, after all, just assaulted him with a stream of incomprehensible declarations that, knowing the truth, she still wished to remain in the mansion, and that, knowing the truth, she loved him. The love she had declared for Michelle was not a fleeting puppy love. There was a genuine tenderness and warmth to her words. But he had gone through his life shunned, feared, pushed away. To him, that was normal. He had never given anyone reason to have any fondness for him, so he found himself utterly unsure how to take the affection she was showing. Of course, he was not the only one rattled by the whole affair. Oh dear. Several days had passed since Michelle had asked for time to think. He had still yet to show himself again. This is all my fault. The white-haired girl paced anxiously through the halls on the off chance she might run into him. As per his request, though, she kept her distance from his chambers. Nevertheless, she was beginning to worry about the fact that he had secluded himself away for so long. So, she worked up her courage and made her way to his room. What if he doesn't want to see me ever again? I didn't consider I might be overstepping my bounds before opening my mouth. Every step she took was slow and laborious. Her mind raced with worry and doubt. I should at least tell him I'm sorry. Rather than out of a desire to know how he felt, she was compelled by guilt and a desire to apologize. After walking for some time, she arrived at a door sitting in an utterly unlit hallway. She drew in a breath of musty air, then let it out, repeating the process several times. Next, she reached her hand up to knock on the door, then pulled it back, also doing this a number of times. Oh, how adorable she was. I wanted nothing more than to give her a little nudge. After all, she was too sweet a girl for her worries to be anything but misplaced. I just can't find the courage. Maybe I should come back another day. But what's the point of waiting? I need to apologize and get the weight off his back now. She gathered her courage once more, this time determined she would do it. The white-haired girl moved her small fist toward the door, which then swung open. I'm sorry.
Please, you must announce your presence. I almost walked right into you. Are you in that much hurry for a mishap?
I'm sorry.
And I believe I told you to stay away from my chambers.
You did, so I spent a long time debating whether I would, but I decided I really wanted to tell you this.
Oh, well, actually.
I am truly sorry.
What?
The other day, I could barely manage to get the words in my head all the way to my mouth. There was no room in my mind for anything else. I shoved my own thoughts and feelings into your face, not considering that might not be what you wanted. Just running, non-stop, not thinking at all. I was terribly disrespectful to you, completely selfish. You're a kind-hearted man, I truly believe that. But you were only being courteous because you're a nice man. I'm sure you have little interest in the affections of a queer little girl. So I would love it if I could stay here. It would be a wonderful blessing. But if you really don't want me here, if my feelings are imposing upon you, then I apologize. I'm sorry, and I'll take my leave of this house. I'm sorry.
Don't be. My mind went blank for a moment.
What?
I find it difficult to comprehend you. The other day, you affirm in your intentions to stay, and now you'll say you'll leave without a struggle.
You holed up in your room for so long that I thought, you didn't want me around. To be honest, I want to stay here. I do.
I think you should do whatever pleases you. You can stay, or you can leave. I will not pressure you to do one or the other.
So, I'm not imposing?
To tell you the truth, I had to think about that for some time. However, I have now come to something of a solution. Since you're here, come into my room.
But I thought I wasn't allowed to.
To prevent what almost happened a few moments ago. So we don't accidentally run into each other.
Sorry.
You're forgiven. Now, come in.
Okay. Is this a necklace?
If that's what it looks like to you, then I suppose that means I succeeded. Pick it up.
It has a little bell. It's adorable.
Please make an effort to wear that while you're in the house. Because it's so dark, there will always exist the risk that we might accidentally bump into one another. So I tried to come up with a way to reduce that risk.
Does that mean you didn't leave your room because you were working on this?
That's right. What other reason would I have?
I think most people would assume it was because they had put you in a bad mood, or that you didn't want to see them.
I have little sense of how most people see the world.
Sorry. I appreciate it, though. I'm really glad to know that you put so much thought into a life together with me.
It would be difficult not to, after the other day.
I'm so happy right now. I can't think of any better word to describe it. I couldn't be happier.
You're being dramatic. To tell you the truth, I feel a little bad about it.
Why?
It seems rather impertinent to affix a bell to someone. You're not livestock. You're a person.
That's why you turned it into a necklace? Thank you very much. I'll keep it on me at all times. I really, truly appreciate it, Lord Michel.
Don't call me Lord, please.
All right then. I'll just call you Michelle. And will you please call me Giselle?
The windows.
What?
If we could open the windows. Never mind. I was just thinking you wouldn't need the bell at all if we could get some light in here.
They can't be opened?
They're rusted shut. All the windows have been shuttered for as long as I've been here.
I assumed you had boarded them all up.
That was done long before I ever arrived. After so many years here, though, I hardly consider it an inconvenience anymore. It also serves to repel wanderers.
Oh, really?
Is there something odd about that?
No. It's just... I realized I had the wrong impression about a number of things. As I learn more, I see things in a different light. See you in a different light. And I'm sure there's still plenty more for me to learn.
Of all the people I've ever met, you are perhaps the most difficult to predict. Not only do you have no aversion to the darkness,
The dark has always been a close friend of mine. Which isn't to say I dislike the sun. Its light can simply be a bit too strong for me. I'm like some kind of unholy monster that can't be exposed to sunlight.
You are anything but unholy. My name would suit you much better than me. That day, when I first saw Giselle, I was wary of her, apprehensive. I didn't want her anywhere near me. But as my doubts about her faded, I began feeling something very different, as though the lump in my heart had been melted away. I began to yearn for her to be at my side, knowing full well it couldn't possibly last, knowing full well how foolish it was. I found myself captivated by her. I found myself wishing to have her stay with me.
My, what an interesting way to tie off this reading. What could that mean? Question marks. So, I'm going to call it here for today. I think it would be great if I could come on again soon. Nodding. I don't have anything to talk about today because spoilers. I don't have anything to talk about today because spoilers. But I hope that you have found it interesting so far. When we get to the end of this fourth door here, maybe then we can talk a little bit about mayhaps what is to come. What do you think? What do you say? I'm sorry that I've been so spotty and sporadic, but I'm happy as always to see you. Thank you very much for coming and spending a little time with me while I do reading. Oh, Silent, you are here. So kind about my reads. It's lovely to see you too. Oh, well, thanks for having me. I'm sorry that I couldn't stay longer. Originally, when I thought about this chapter, I wanted to see if I could just power through the entire chapter at once. But I fear that will not be a doable thing. I am deeply sorry. But perhaps someday I'll be able to plow through a long read. Mayhaps I'll be able to see you again then. But until the next time, we'll leave our story from the fourth door. Oh, Black Ace, I'm sorry. I'm tying up. I'll have to see you again next time. Thanks so much for visiting today, the good old Bun Dungeon Hell. Hope to see you very soon. Bye bye.